Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with another competitive Pokemon Sun and Moon moveset video guide analysis, whatever you want to call it. This time we're going to be talking about Mantine. Now Mantine is one of the buffed Pokemon that has received a buff, rather, that's probably the better way to say it, has received a buff since Pokemon Sun and Moon came out from XY. Now Mantine has actually gotten an HP increase, so now it's base 85, and it also has access to Roost in its moveset. So those are two huge buffs for Mantine. If you guys actually missed any of my previous moveset videos, I encourage you to check them out. By the way, there is a playlist down below. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitch and Twitter. Those links are down below. Now, Mantine has a few good abilities. Water Absorb is the main one we're going to be talking about, giving it a water immunity, as also restoring its health when it's hit with the water type attack. So this one's pretty cool, doubling its speed and rain, and then Water Veil prevents you from being burnt. Though the main move that's going to be burning you outside of Will-O-Wisp is usually going to be Scald, which I rather have an immunity for with Water Absorb. So Mantine is actually one of the Pokemon that can function in a few different tiers. In this video, we'll be focusing on OU and UU, since you're probably not going to use Mantine in Ubers, but Mantine has recently fallen down to the UU tier based on usage, and I'll be talking about sets that can work in OU as well as spreads that can work in UU as well. So the first set we're going to be talking about is a physically defensive Defog support set. Now this is probably the main set you'll see on Mantine. Scald being mandatory. It's your offensive presence that allows you to potentially burn your opponent. Roost, you want that longevity. You have now recovery as well, and Water Absorb obviously allowing you to switch into water type attacks. Scalds, Hydro Pumps coming off. Defog, again, get rid of hazards. The good thing about Mantine is that its only hazard that it's weak to is Stealth Rock. It's the only hazard that's taken damage from. Being water and flying, you are immune to Sticky Web, Spikes, Toxic Spikes. So Mantine is a pretty solid defogger, being that it can get rid of those while having a weakness, of course, to Stealth Rock, so taking 25% upon switching. Now, the second move is pretty much what you needed to do. Ice Beam allows you to deal with Landorus, Garchomp, and also Zygarde trying to set up on you with Subcoil. Toxic allows you to wear down bulky waters, dragons. I'm talking about Rotom. I'm talking about Tapus. For example, you can Toxic Tapu Fini if Misty Surge is gone, Misty Terrain is gone. Latios as well, being able to wear them down. Greninja, wearing that down, also beating it naturally. Because you are water and flying, you naturally resist Pheromosa. Pheromosa, the best thing it can do to hit you is actually if it's running HP Electric on either a Specs or a Quiver Dance set, for Mantine specifically, as well as Tapu Fini. Other than that, you take high jump kicks, which is why you're physically defensive. You take U-turns, you take poison jabs coming at you, and you take Focus Blast as well on the special side. So again, Toxic allows you to wear down pretty much everything that resists Scald, and then Haze is also an option for setup users, maybe like Calm Mind, Tapu Fini, which are not running Taunt, Calm Mind Lotties as well. Just being able to get rid of boosts, I think that's the main thing. You can get rid of Pokemon such as Clefable, Calm Minding Up, which is more so what you'll see in UU as well, because Clefable is another Pokemon that has dropped down to the U tier. But Haze is cool, being able to get rid of those boosts. Now, you are physically defensive, like I said. Pretty important being able to take on Pokemon such as Pheromosa. I think that's really, really important, while also just having that natural base 140 Spadef, so you can still take hits from Mons like Lottie. The EV spread is 248 HP. That is the max HP that you can have that allows you to switch into Stealth Rock multiple times. So 248 versus 252, 248, just being able to switch in more. 220 defense, you can actually run a bit more, but I have 40 speed on this thing. That way it can outspeed Scizor actually should be 44 speed. I apologize. But it allows it to outspeed min speed Scizor. It's supposed to be 44 speed. Ooh, why is it stuck on that? Anyway, allowing it to outspeed minimum speed Scizor. Being able to Scald it before it either U-turns or bullet punches you. Of course, you obviously resist both of those attacks as well, which is why Haze is nice, because you could take on Swords Dance Scizor, Scald, burn it, and stall it out. I guess Air Slash is also a notable move as well, being able to hit grass types like Tapu Bulu upon switching. But basically, enough speed for that, enough speed for Assault Vest, Magirna, which the best move that can have to hit you for the most amount of damage is usually Volt Switch on an Assault Vest set. So you can roost losing the 4 times weakness to the electric move, only having that 2 times weakness, and it's not going to be doing too much because you do have Spadef investment. And you can also roost stall, Flare Cannon, as well as Flash Cannon, obviously, and naturally just beat that. So that's pretty much the set there. We have a mixed defensive set coming up next. Shout out to Gingy. I believe he made this spread. But a mixed defensive set with Scald, Ice Beam, Roost, and Defog. Ice Beam is, again, I already mentioned Garchomp, Landorus, both of which get up Stealth Rock. Landorus, watch out for Stone Edge. Obviously, your Supersonic Sky Strike, Continental Crush, those Z moves. But usually, if it's a support Landorus running Hidden Power Ice, it can't touch you. If it is a support Landorus running Hidden Power Ice, if you see Hidden Power Ice, you know, and you see Stealth Rock, you know its other moves are U-Turn and Earthquake generally. So Scald allows you, or Ice Beam allows you to deal with that, as well as Garchomp, again, dealing with Zygarde. But the mixed defenses, I don't know why my EVs keep messing up. It's making me sad. But the mixed defenses allow you to take on Protean Greninja. I'll actually show you a calc right here with this defensive spread. That is the wrong calc. That is the wrong calc. That is the wrong. This is the right calc. It should have been the order right here. Sorry about that. Basically, Protean Life Orb Greninja's Gunk Shot does 44 to 52%. That is a guaranteed 3 KO after Leftovers Recovery. You can Roost stall it out. This is Life Orb Dark Pulse. Now let's actually switch it over to Choice Specs for a second. This is Greninja prior to becoming Protean Greninja. It's a guaranteed 4 KO with Specs Dark Pulse. And of course, with Water Absorb, you naturally switch in on Greninja. And it's a guaranteed 4-hit KO after Leftovers Recovery. I guess I'll show you Ash Greninja. I should have already had this there, and I do apologize. But Ash Greninja's Dark Pulse is still a guaranteed 3-hit KO as well. Of course, when it's Ash Greninja and it's a 3-hit KO as opposed to a 4-hit KO, it does have that chance to flinch you, so be careful. Or if it flinches you, it's a little bit more deadly. But that's the main gist of this set. Defensive, so you can take on Gunk Shot as well as take on Zygarde and things like that. But Spadef to be able to take on Ash Greninja or any form of Greninja. So that's the mixed defensive set. Now, Subtoxic is a really cool set. It's not using Mantine for defogging, but actually just abusing the fact that it now has Roost, of course, with that base 85 HP, great Spadef, and decent defenses, I guess average, maybe a little bit below average defenses. When you invest in this, again, the speed, still wrong, but enough for Min Speed Scizor, being able to outspeed that by a point. You can run a little bit more if you want, but the idea of this is bring it in on Pokemon, maybe like Pheromosa, that give you a sub. Like, they don't beat you down. You're physically defensive. You take high jump kicks, you take lunges, you take poison jabs, you sub up on their switch maybe to something like, let's say, Lottie or a Tapu. You toxic them, you Roost stall them. It's just using sub and Roost, having Water Absorb, having Leftovers. Leftovers are the item that you're usually going to be using on Mantine, and Water Absorb is usually going to be your ability, just giving you a water immunity plus giving HP back for that. So it's just sub, Roost, toxic, and Scald. Using it to stall out your opponent. You can also sub up on Celesteela, which fails to break your sub. Scald allows you to burn that thing, and then you can stall that thing out. Obviously, sub also allows you to avoid Leech Seed from that. Just a different way to use Mantine, but I've actually used it to success. Now, in the UU tier, I have a spread right here. In UU, which Mantine has recently fallen to, Mantine actually has a pretty cool, obviously niche, is the fact that it has Water Absorb, and there are some really, really scary water types in the UU tier. Two big, huge ones off the top of my head are Volcanion and Primarina. Specs Primarina, for example, is deadly. That boy 2-hit KOs everything, or that girl, rather. That girl 2-hit KOs, it depends, whatever. Primarina 2-hit KOs everything with Specs, but not Mantine. Not Mantine. So the moveset is Roost, Defog or Haze, Toxic or Scald. I'll show you a few calcs in a bit, because I think these are very important if you want to use Mantine, and I think Mantine is really solid. Defog is there, of course, if you want to use it as a defog supporter. Getting rid of hazards, of course. Obviously, being immune to sticky webs, spikes, T-spikes. Pretty cool. And obviously also having natural Spadef. You don't really care too much about Volt Switch Fortress. You burn it, you Roost off the Volt Switch after anyway. But Defog is there again for hazards. Haze, I think, is better if your team is a little bit weaker to maybe Belly Drum Azumarill. However, if you are running Haze, I would run a bit more speed. And what I would do is, if you want to run more speed for Belly Drum Azu, because that way you haze it after Belly Drums, or you haze it before Belly Drums, and it can't obviously Aqua Jet you. Only thing it can do is hit you with Play Rough or Knockoff. But of course, be careful. Though Azu shouldn't usually be Belly Drum in front of Mantine, because Skull can burn, it can Toxic you can haze. But haze is also an option for that, for like Calm Mind Lotties as well. Sit up mons like SD Scissor or regular Scissor in the tier. Defense allows you to take that on, but the Spadef, again, I'll show you right here a few calcs that were unfortunately shown earlier. But Specs Primarina's Moonblast does 42 to 49%. That is a guaranteed 3 KO. After leftovers recovery, you are naturally faster. However, Primarina does tend to run a little bit of speed creep. So what you can do, again, if you want to run more speed on this, I would take away from defense just to run a bit more speed. But this allows you to take on Primarina. Obviously, Hydro Pump isn't going to touch you because of Water Absorb. Next one up, we have Life Orb Lottie. Life Orb Lottie's Draco Meteor does 41 to 49%, and obviously that gives you a -2 drop. Psyshock is a guaranteed 3 KO, doing 44 to 52%. That's Life Orb Max Special Attack Latias' Psyshock. And then even Life Orb Thunderbolt, which you are 4 times weak to, does not kill you. It's a guaranteed 2 KO. So that's just something, watch out for Thunderbolt, which they don't always run, but that's something that can be run since it hits Volcanion, Azumarill, Pokemon like that. And obviously as well as Mantine. Haze is also a pretty cool option because Clefable recently dropped down to the tiers, so if you're worried about Calm Mind Clefable, you can haze it and stall it out. Of course, if it Thunderwaves you, be careful, but then again, even then, it only has, what, 16 Moonblasts, which you are a Spadef monster, so you can stall that out as well. That's just a few calcs. I think that this is the biggest one. I think this is the coolest one. Hydreigon is a monster, guys. Hydreigon is a monster. This is called UU Wallbreaker. And look at this. Life Orb Draco Meteor does 45 to 53%. That does not 2-hit KO. It says 1.2% chance to 2-hit KO. No, at -2, that does not 2-hit KO. You can live that with Stealth Rock after leftovers recovery. Life Orb Dark Pulse from Hasty Hydreigon does 28 to 33%, and Mantine just roosted off. I think that's so cool that a Pokemon like Mantine could take on this monster. And we'll actually put Choice Specs. Choice Specs Draco Meteor still doesn't 2-hit KO, and Choice Specs Dark Pulse is a 1.4 chance to 3-hit KO after leftovers recovery. So it's usually a 4-hit KO. Obviously, Modest hits harder, but generally same thing. It's still a 3-hit KO. And Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor you have to watch out for, though, if it's Modest specs. If rocks are up. If rocks are up, you're going down. But if not, a nice chance to live, depending on rolls. But in any case, yeah, Mantine, really cool mod. Next up, we have Specs. This is another option because I usually do include other options. Specs is an option on Mantine, though, of course, I mentioned Primarina. I mentioned Volcanion. I think they're way better. However, Mantine's little thing, I guess, over Primarina, which I think has to run, in my opinion, Water Move, Moonblast, Ice Beam, and Energy Ball. Mantine has Signal Beam, which is cool for Celebi. Obviously having Water Absorb as well, Air Slash, Flying Stab, it's pretty weak, but Hydro Pump, Ice Beam has a good move pool. So this is an option that you can run over Primarina. Obviously it's also faster than Primarina, as well as being an offensive check to Volcanion. Watch out for Hidden Power Electric, though. Volcanion does tend to run a Hidden Power of sorts, usually Electric, sometimes Grass for Gastrodon, but Electric I'm thinking is, well, I've seen a lot of Electric because I switched to my Primarina, but then again I got Bloom Doom as well, so that's also like Solar Beam, Z moves, which Mantine can check if it's you use Spadef or Roost. So watch out for Hidden Power Electric, scout for that of course, but if it doesn't have that, then your Mantine checks Volcanion. So a few partners, if you're using in the OU tier, Ferrothorn and Heatran are amazing. With that, Ferrothorn provides pretty much the answer to Tapu Koko that Mantine does not like, whereas Mantine, or as well as a Rock Resist, which of course Mantine doesn't like, whereas Mantine provides a Fighting Resistance, a Fire Resistance, pretty much just taking on the weaknesses of Ferrothorn. Heatran, likewise, again, can pretty much take on anything thrown at Mantine, and likewise, Mantine does resist the water and has immunity to it with Water Absorb, as well as resisting the fighting that comes out at Heatran, as well as having an immunity to ground. So all of Heatran's weaknesses taken care of. If you're going and playing in UU tier, Zygarde and Latias are great partners. Just offensively, being able to check Thunderous, which is something that Mantine fears, taking on the electric type attacks, either being immune to it or resisting it. And they also appreciate Mantine being able to take on Scizor, resisting all its attacks. Scizor is also a great partner as well. All these can check Belly Drum Azumarill if it's taking prior damage. Banded Bullet Punch, Life Orb, Side Shock, or Thunderbolt, Extreme Speed. Scizor appreciates the resistance to fire, as well as the fact that it can just take on Hydreigon. Does not care at all about Hydreigon. Talking about Mantine. And then Celebi is a really good partner. Mantine checking a lot of the weaknesses that Celebi does have. I'm talking about Bug. Also taking the ice type attacks at it, the fire type attacks, things like that. Whereas Celebi can take on the electric type attacks aimed at Mantine. Also being an offensive answer to Pokemon like Volcanion if it's Nasty Plot Celebi. So just a few options you have there. But overall, Mantine's a really fun Pokemon. I'm glad it got these buffs from X and Y. Roost is so huge in this mon, especially having that HP stat as well. Being able to... It's really cool in the U tier as well because it can take on, like I said, water types like Primarina, Volcanion, as well as Keldeo. Keldeo is also running around in the UU tier. But in any case, guys, hope you all enjoyed. Feel free, of course, to leave a like, subscribe. If you learned something, why not? Hit that like button. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. Those links are down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys with the showcase later today. So goodbye, friends.